calibration frames. What do you do with them? How do you take them? What are they used for? What is a dark frame? How do you take a dark picture? And what is a light frame? Makes a little more sense, but still, how do you use it? How do you apply it? And what in the world is a flat frame? How do you take a flat frame? A flat picture? How do you take a bias frame? Bias frame sounds weird, but nevertheless, we're going to learn about it today, here on another episode of Astro Playground. Stick around. Okay, so let's get into this. What is the main purpose behind calibration frames? Why are they important? What do we need to do with them? So the main reason for having calibration frames is to remove any of the unwanted elements that show up in the optical train, right? So in astrophotography, these calibration frames, be them darks, flats, bias, dark flats, so on and so forth, they are used to enhance the image quality by reducing noise, correcting for vignetting, removing artifacts, and ultimately, it ultimately results in a cleaner, more detailed image. A lot of times you will have things that will show up in the optical train that you don't want there, right? And that optical train is subject to moisture, it's subject to temperature, it's subject to the intrusion of dust and other things that might show up in the image train. Anything that you wind up having in your images, you want to be able to filter out through software. That's what calibration frames do for you. They allow the software to look at these images and say, this stuff here doesn't belong. We're going to eliminate it from the process, which results in a much better quality looking image. All right. Anybody that is doing serious astrophotography work uses these frames. All right. So you should know what they do and how to use them. So starting with dark frames. The main purpose of dark frames is to remove the noise that is associated with amp glow. Commonly, an issue with Cosmos sensors. Uh, the amp glow in a lot of cameras can definitely be annoying in imagery, so you want to remove that. Now, if you have a camera that doesn't use or isn't subject to amp glow, then this isn't as big a deal, but you still have other issues to deal with, and that one of them is the hot pixels. Any pixels that are in the sensor that are no longer functioning correctly can show up as a white dot. And that can definitely be a problem in cameras that are used for guiding, because if you don't have a dark library, your guiding, like PhD2, can't determine the difference between a star in the heavens and a hot pixel on your sensor. And if it locks onto that hot pixel, your guiding graph is going to look like a dead man. So you don't want that. You want to be able to factor that out. So doing a dark library for your guide camera is also very important. The dark library for your imaging camera is to remove those hot pixels, but also the amp glow. Very, very important. Now, as it relates to taking the images and how many you should take, it varies. Most people wind up at around 30 to 40 images. The problem with darks is that they take a long time, right? So you're going to want to, a couple of things, a couple of parameters. You want to make sure that the camera is set to the exact same settings that you are using for your imaging. So same temperature, same gain, offsets, all of that. You want to make sure that the camera is exactly the same as what you're using to shoot your lights with. All right. The thing is that the library usually is 30 to 40 images. Some do more than that. Some do less. Somewhere between 30 and 40 images is good. I do about 40 images for my dark library. That will take you a while, because here's the other thing. You're going to need to take those images at the maximum exposure of whatever it is that you're shooting at. So if you're shooting at something that is a long way away, you need a lot of data. You're doing, say, a 5-minute exposure. That's 300 seconds, right? 5 minutes times 40 images, that's a long time. All right. So you're going to be running that camera for quite a while. Okay. The other thing that you want to make sure that you're doing is, as uh, the title says, dark frame, you want to be making sure that you are shooting this in the dark. Kind of obvious, but nevertheless, you want to make sure that it's in the dark. Now, that may seem obvious, but there may be things that are intruding on the ability of the camera to shoot completely in the dark. All you want to do is pick up any interference or any background radiation from the amp glow, anything that has to do with hot pixels. You only want to be picking up what is on the sensor. You don't want any other photons to hit that sensor. All right. Basically, that's light leaks. You don't want any light leaks. So covering your main OTA, shooting at night, shooting in the dark. If you have a cover for your telescope, possibly putting the cover on it. Just anything that you can do to prevent the intrusion of light. Light leaks will ruin your dark libraries, and you don't want that. So, okay, our next frame is flat frames. And what are flat frames? Just as darks are used to calibrate everything that has to do with the camera sensor, flat frames are to calibrate everything that is inside the OTA. Okay. And that includes anything that might be the result of temperature variations, humidity, dust and dust motes, any aberrations that are part of the optical train that you don't want, winding up in your final image. And believe me when I tell you, flat frames are probably one of the most important aspects of calibration frames. Anybody who's anybody takes flat frames when it comes to uh, imaging, astrophotography, um, anything at all. You need to be taking your flat frames. So typically, what you do with a flat frame is you introduce a light, a calibrated light, into the optical train to illuminate any of the undesirable aspects that might be in that frame. Water spots, dust, anything that might be there that you don't want in your final image. So one of the best ways to do that is to use a flat panel that is calibrated, that you can adjust the illumination for. One of the other ways to do it, and one of the very first ways that I saw it done, was Trevor Jones on Astro Backyard. He was taking flats with a stretched white T-shirt across his the front of his optical display, and pointing at a blue sky. And he was taking flats that way. Um, Reasonable and functional, and it can work. And if you don't have a flat panel, that is something that you should definitely check out. You want to be able to take those flat frames, and if you can't afford or don't have a flat panel to do that, the white T-shirt method can work. And you might check out Astro Backyard and his flat frame explanation using a T-shirt. It's interesting at the very least. It's interesting. Now, in dealing with a flat panel, one of the things that you want to pay attention to is to make sure that the flat panel is sitting on top of the scope as the scope is pointed directly to the zenith. That flat panel, unless of course you have one that is articulated and mounted to the scope and will open and close on automation, that's a whole different kettle of fish. A lot of guys do use panels like that. I would need something significantly substantial, very beefy, to be able to handle the flat panel that I need for the C14, because it is a beast. I wanted just to show you what the flat panel does. It is basically a glorified light box, and this one here is made by Spike-A-Flat, and it is designed, as I said, to sit right on top the telescope. In my case, right on top of the dew shield, because I have an Astrozap metal dew shield, so it will support that quite nicely. And then you can just adjust it. It will You can adjust it with the rheostat, and as you can see, it will go quite bright. It's dimmable. So what you could do, especially in Nina, you set that up there, and Nina will tell you exactly what you need for your flats, how bright your panel should be before you go ahead and take your calibration frames. But at any rate, this is the panel from Spike-A-Flat, and it works quite well. So the timing, okay, for flat frames is also an important aspect. All right, timing, taking those flat frames, it is important that you do that, very soon after finishing your light frames. All right, you want to make sure that you're not introducing any new dust or any other things into that image train that is going to be on top of. It's going to vary between the image that you took and the image of the light frames that you're using to calibrate. So you want to do that as soon as possible. Sometimes you're not able to do that until the next morning if you're using the white t-shirt method. But if you have a flat frame, a flat panel to do flat frames, you want to make sure that you're doing that as soon as possible. That just good practice. Um, Other than that, we will move on to our next step in talking about bias frames. So now in dealing with bias frames, and what they basically are, their purpose, basically bias frames are used to calibrate the baseline for your images. It removes any unnecessary or residual noise, hot pixels, and stuff like that. And the bias frames is basically the opposite of the dark frames, which in dark frames are taken at a very long exposure. Bias frames are the opposite of that, right? So in dealing with bias frames, you're taking, first of all, you're taking quite a few of them. Somewhere between 80 to 100 bias frames, 50 to 100, depending. Some people, vary on that, but somewhere between 50 and 100 bias frames. The thing is that you want to take them with the lens cap on. But here's the thing: you want the bias frames to be shot at the fastest exposure that your camera can handle. Now, cooled cameras and astronomy cameras typically are going to be shooting, at or greater than 1 second. DSLRs, on the other hand, are shooting at thousandths of a second. So it's going to be dependent on the camera that you're using. And it may vary as well. Some cameras don't like really short exposures, like the astrophotography cameras. Some cameras don't like short exposures. Others don't. It's not a problem. You have to figure that out based on the camera that you're using. Um, but the shortest exposure that you can get, and somewhere between 50 and 100 exposures is what you're shooting for. And all of these then are compiled together in a calibration file that then you can load into PixInsight to calibrate for the images of the lights that you're taking. One of the other calibration frames that you can take I hadn't mentioned at the beginning, but I will now, is dark flat frames, or flat darks. There's debate as to how it's oriented. The dark flats, flat darks. I don't think it really matters. For those that take that seriously, get over yourself.
Thousands of tears later.
At any rate, these tend to be optional, okay, but their purpose, these frames, these dark flat frames, they're similar to flats, right? But they're taken with the lens cap on, all right, and they're used to calibrate the dark current of the sensor that you're taking with flats. And the thing is that you want to be taking about the same number of dark flats as you took flats. All right. So in taking them, you take the image, like I said, take it with the lens cap on, and it used the same exposure time that you used for your flat frames. All right. And you can, again, this will be labeled, or you can label it for use in PixInsight and dark flat frames. You may find these useful. You may find no use for them whatsoever, but I thought I'd mention it. Any rate, so in conclusion, in dealing with these calibration frames, the whole purpose is to have a better quality end product. Nobody wants to spend all this time learning, all this money in the acquisition of telescope gear, which, believe me when I tell you, that is a rabbit hole. And it's very easy to find yourself tumbling down that rabbit hole. Um, you want to make sure that the imaging that you get is the best that you can possibly produce. And one of the key elements in that is your calibration frames. So do your own research and make sure that you know the best possible approach for these calibration frames for your particular gear setup. I'm sure that when you figure it out for yourself as it relates to your specific telescope rig, that you will be very pleased with the results of what you're getting. Calibration frames, they ultimately will result in better quality images. And the calibration frames are again an essential part of stacking. Stacking is a key element in astrophotography, and the better the stacking that you have, as far as for multiple images and stacking them all together. So the better quality that you're going to wind up with as an end product, right? Stacking, they help to ensure that the images are aligned and calibrated correctly. Um, this process is uh, a key element in what we do in post processing in PixInsight. So it is a wonderful process to learn and to master, and the more that you do, the easier the process will be. It will just like developing muscle memory. So the whole purpose in all of this is to generate the best possible images that you can. Calibrating your equipment with calibration frames is definitely one of the key elements in doing that. The more you learn, the better you'll get at it. Uh, I would encourage you that if you enjoy this kind of content, that you come back and visit us again. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up and comment. I love to hear your comments. If you have a better way of doing this, or you have additional steps or tips and tricks that maybe I didn't think of, please consider writing those down in the comments. Send me a comment. Tell me what you think. Even if you think I'm being an idiot, just go ahead and write to us. I answer all of my comments. I read everything that comes to me. I hope to get to a point where that becomes a real issue, where I can't read everything. But as it stands right now, I read everything and I respond to everything. And I would encourage you that if you like this content, give us a thumbs up, and consider subscribing to our channel. That way, we can be assured that we are reaching the kind of people that we want to reach. We are looking to grow this channel, grow in our community, and we're a part of a much larger community as well in Astroworld. Astroworld TV. There are some wonderful astronomers over there, and Dan Higgins and Eric and Dave and Sean Nielsen, and many others. Come in and be a part of Astroworld TV. We meet every week, unless, of course, there is something going on like there is this coming weekend at NEAF up in New York. We meet every week at Wednesdays and on Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We sit around, we talk all things astrophotography. We talk about things that aren't astrophotography. We get into hockey and into sports and whatever. But the point is to have a forum where we can answer questions from people that are in the chat, and develop those relationships with people. So come and visit us over at Astro World TV, and I'll leave a link down in the description. You've probably already seen the QR code that I put up on the screen. Um, but I would also encourage you to check out the other channels. Eric's got a channel. Of course, Sean Nielsen, Invisible Dark, has got a big channel. We love Sean. Um, but I would also encourage you to go to our affiliate link for Astroworld telescopes. Dan is growing his business with Astroworld telescopes, and we're doing everything we can to support him, to help him with marketing and in sales and so on and so forth. And we really want to see that grow. So go in and support Dan at Astroworld Telescopes, and let him know that we here at Astro Playground have sent you on your way over to visit him. Um, give us a thumbs up and tell us that you liked the video. Hit that notification bell, and that way you're assured that when we do have a new video that is coming up, that you'll get it as soon as it's available. I would encourage you to look for our next coming videos. We got a video coming on collimation. We've got a video coming that collimation video is really going to be amazing. We're delving into the collimation, also talking about the hyperstar from Starzona. And the wonderful device that is. If you don't know about the Hyperstar, do your research on it. Look for the video coming on that. As soon as I get some stars, I'm going to be collimating my scope and getting that video finished and up for your enjoyment. Um, but we have other videos as well in the setup video. First lights. We're waiting for first lights and such on that. So there are videos that are in the works, and there will be more videos coming. So from all of us here at Astro Playground, clear skies, and bye for now.